Today, I'm saying goodbye to the Photillustrator forever. All right, so you know that old girlfriend or, boyfriend, I guess, if that's how you like to roll, that you really want to kick to the curb, but you just can't because it's easier just to, stick with what you got than to kick them to the curb and go through all that mess. Well, Photillustrator is that girlfriend for me, that I've been wanting to kick to the curb for a long time. And I could just never had the courage to do it or just never had the energy to do it, I guess. Times are changing. I'm Jason Ulsrud, and welcome to my YouTube channel called The Creative Portrait. And I was just looking at my YouTube channel and realized that it's been over a year since I posted on here, which is nuts. I mean, time just flies, especially when you're in a pandemic, right? And I think it's highly, highly time that I be posting again here on the YouTube. All right, so let's move on to saying goodbye to the Photillustrator before I lose my courage. Now, real quick, before we do that though, hit the like button below if you like this video, and definitely subscribe to this channel, because if you don't, I don't know that you're really going to be as cool as you think you are. I will say it's scientifically proven that when you hit that subscribe button, you'll feel like a tick up on your coolness level. Hopefully, with doing that, you will learn from my mistakes and my experience, and you will see some of yourself in me as we grow through this journey together. Now, why am I saying goodbye to a brand that I worked for 5 or 6 years building? I worked really hard building this brand to only, one day willy-nilly kick it to the curb and start afresh. Well, I'm going to tell you why. First, it's because we had a pandemic, and what better time than right now? If I'm going to make a change, what better time than right now, right? We went through a shutdown almost 2 years ago. We shut down, and the day we shut down, my business just went straight down. I mean, it tanked, as I'm sure that a lot of businesses did, just tanked. And I didn't get any PPE loans or any of that kind of stuff. I was all on my own, basically. And so it tanked. I basically had no job, no idea what the heck I was going to do. And honestly, I didn't, put the effort in to try to maintain it. I was burnt out. That's a whole nother story. So I just decided, you know what? I'm shutting the shop down and moving on with my life. And I got a job at a woodworking place called Rockler so I could learn how to build furniture. And I started a furniture and cabinet making business that eventually started doing really good. It started kicking ass. I was booked months out and we were just nailing it, and no pun intended, but we were just rocking it. And all of a sudden, I started getting calls for portraits again. And I thought, you know what? I had like 3 or 4 portraits come through, which was probably about $14,000. And I thought, you know what? It's a heck of a lot easier making these portraits than humping my old ass out there lifting wood and remodeling stuff and doing all that. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to give this thing another shot. I opened my business back up. I thought, what better time now? I'm wanting to make some changes. What better time than right now to make those changes? Secondly, Photillustrator, the word, the brand, the name just isn't memorable. I had a client, one of those clients that booked me. I was talking to her about marketing, and she's like, the problem is I just can't find you anywhere. When I tell my friends about you, they can't find you anywhere unless you type in the word as it's spelled, P-H-O-T Illustrator, which is Photillustrator, not Photo Illustrator, because that comes up something else. But unless you type it in, you're not going to find me. And then also on top of that, like I just kind of mentioned, is that everybody, I mean everybody except for myself and my wife, says the name wrong. It is Photillustrator, not Photillustrator. Now I made a huge mistake when I was buying the domain names. I should have bought Photillustrator, which I did, but I should have bought Photillustrator as well, which I did not. So lesson learned there. And then thirdly, uh, I've been wanting to do a new portrait product for a very long time. And I've had ideas. I've tried to do one idea I tried was the classic family portraits, and they just never took off. I didn't really push them, but mostly because I probably wasn't passionate about it, but they never really took off. And I tried different various things, and nothing just really, spoke to me, if you will. My biggest problem, and I'll talk about this in another video sometime, is that I suffer from uh, different different itis. All right, I need my product, my portrait, to be different, or at least to be different enough, I should say. And none of the portraits I was making, none of the things I was doing really inspired me. I didn't feel like they were different, and so I wasn't inspired by them. And then I ran across a photographer by the name of Chris Knight, and he has a tutorial out on Rembrandt lighting and finding Rembrandt, I think it's called. I'll put a link down below to his stuff. But I bought the tutorial, and it was superb. It was fantastic. I loved it. And I made a portrait, actually, this portrait of my son Nico. And I thought, wow, okay, I like this. Now it's not different, but I like it. It's technical uh, and it's challenging. So I enjoyed it. But I wanted to do something different. I needed a different tonality and a little bit different lighting and all this kind of stuff. So I started running tests and doing tests. I've really been enjoying this new product, and I really want to make a go at this new portrait product, which is what I call a gritty glamour, or better yet, what I like the best is editorial style portraits. And I really want to make a go at it. And I thought, well, those portraits don't really fit in with this Photillustrator brand. And I needed something that was more encompassing of what I want to do ultimately. So I changed the name and the brand to Jason Ulsrud Portrait. Now I've got these big, crazy family portraits. They're at a very high price point. And then I'm bringing in this new product, the editorial style portraits. They're going to be at they're not at a low price point. I won't do anything at a low price point, but they're probably going to be on an average of around $2,100 to $2,600 for a series of these portraits. And then I'm going to do a template portrait, which is going to be the crazy portraits, but toned down, right? So they'll have a pre-templated background that I'm going to create, and then families can just drop themselves in a couple of details in there, and then I can bring that price point down for those who want in at, but can't really afford that higher price point, the more custom price point, but allow them to get in at a lower price point, probably around the 21 to 2600 range as well on that. And then I want to do like Santa sessions. I've got some ideas for that. I've got some ideas for senior portraits, for bridal portraits. I've got a lot of different things that I kind of want to explore this year of 2022 to see if I can get something going business wise. It is time. It has finally come time to say goodbye to the Photillustrator. All right, officially. And if you will do this with me, and I will count it down, we'll say, "See ya, Photillustrator." I'll throw it, and it's done. All right, so 3, 2, 1. See ya, Photillustrator. That's it. No more Photillustrator. Everything now is Jason Ulsrud Portrait, or for the YouTube, it's the Creative Portrait. And on the Facebook group, it's the Creative Portrait. And then I have one more platform that I'm really wanting to kind of dig into. I tried it a little bit and then kind of got out of it, but I really want to get back into it, is Patreon, the Creative Portrait. I'll put a link down below. I've got 3 different levels. They're super cheap, like $5, $10, and $20 or something roughly in that area. Gives you one is the a bunch of tutorials. I'm going to be building the platform as we go, but tutorials on the editorial style portraits. The next level up will give you that, plus the creative portraits, and then the next level up will give you those two plus the business side of this whole deal. I've got so much to say on the business side of photography and what we're doing. One thing that I've realized is, this is the funny thing. real quick before I end this video is that I, with my portraits, my creative portraits, I was adamant that that's how I want to do it. That was my voice, that was my expression, that was my style, that was me. And nobody was going to tell me any different. And I knew it was completely different than anything else that was going on, that nobody else was really doing this style of portrait, certainly not in a family portrait environment and selling them at the price points that I'm doing. Now, other people have done really cool composited portraits, but nothing quite like this. And I knew this was my lane, my space, and I wasn't going to get out of it. Then it comes time for the videos and these tutorials and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like a turd, right? Nothing's different. I feel like, why would you watch one of my tutorials? There's so many other photographers out there doing amazing tutorials that you could be watching or whatever. And I think what I come to realize is that I wasn't speaking from my heart. I wasn't speaking from my experience, and I'm not speaking from what I'm passionate about. And so I'm doing a complete shift of how I'm approaching YouTube and Patreon and anything else that I do, the classes that I do out in the world, Florida or Texas school or wherever I'm at. I'm doing a complete shift on how I'm approaching this stuff. And I'm approaching it from my experience, my perspective, so you can learn me, not me trying to be like somebody else, right? Not me trying to be all businessy and professional and all this other type of stuff. Now, if you sat through my Texas school or any of my classes, you probably are thinking, dude, you're anything but professional, which is true. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. Hit the like button, and I'll see you next time on not Photillustrator Masters, but the Creative Portrait.